In a quiet village on the edge of the vast African savanna, a young boy's fate was intertwined with a creature feared by many, the cunning and unpredictable hyena. What begins as an encounter of survival unfolds into a journey of courage, trust, and an unbreakable bond that defies the laws of nature. But in a world where fear often clouds understanding, can this unlikely duo survive the challenges ahead? Before we dive into the story, make sure to subscribe to Tales Storyhouse and hit the bell icon to stay updated with all our captivating tales of wonder and wisdom. In a small village nestled on the edge of a sprawling savanna, there lived a boy named Kofi. He was a quiet, curious child who spent most of his time wandering the grassy plains that surrounded his home. Kofi was different from the other children in the village. While they spent their days laughing, playing, and helping their families with chores, Kofi often found himself lost in thought, observing the world around him. He loved to watch the tall grass sway in the wind, listen to the chirping of birds, and marvel at the vibrant sunsets that painted the sky each evening. But Kofi was not without his struggles. The villagers often saw him as clumsy and awkward. His attempts to help with tasks like fetching water or herding goats usually ended in mishaps. He would trip over stones, spill water from heavy pots, or let goats wander off into the bush. The other children teased him for his clumsiness, calling him names and laughing at his expense. Even the adults, though kinder, would shake their heads and mutter that Kofi was a boy who would never find his place. Despite this, Kofi's mother loved him dearly. She would often remind him that everyone had their own strengths and that he simply needed to discover his. Her words comforted Kofi, but he still couldn't shake the feeling that he was different in a way that made him unwanted. This feeling grew stronger with each passing day, and Kofi began to spend more and more time away from the village, finding solace in the quiet embrace of the savanna. One sunny morning, as Kofi wandered farther from the village than he ever had before, he stumbled upon an unusual sight. Lying beneath the shade of an acacia tree was a hyena. Its spotted fur was matted and dirty, and it appeared to be injured. One of its hind legs was bent at an odd angle, and its sides heaved with labored breaths. Kofi froze. He had heard many stories about hyenas from the elders in his village. They were said to be cunning and dangerous animals, scavengers that roamed the night and brought bad luck to anyone who crossed their path. Kofi's first instinct was to turn and run, but something stopped him. The hyena's amber eyes met his, and in them, he saw not malice but pain and fear. The creature's gaze seemed to plead for help, and Kofi's heart ached with compassion. He knew the right thing to do was to help the animal, even if it meant risking the disapproval of his village. Moving cautiously, Kofi approached the hyena. He spoke softly, hoping to calm the animal as he got closer. He tore strips of cloth from his shirt to create a makeshift bandage and gently wrapped the hyena's injured leg. The hyena flinched but did not attack, as if it understood that Kofi meant no harm. Kofi also gathered water from a nearby stream, using his hands, and offered it to the hyena, which drank greedily. Though he was nervous, Kofi felt a sense of purpose he had never experienced before. Over the next few days, Kofi returned to the acacia tree to care for the hyena. He brought food, water, and fresh bandages for its leg. The animal grew stronger under his care, and a bond began to form between them. Kofi gave the hyena a name, Chue, which meant strength in his language. Though Chue was still wary of Kofi, there was a mutual understanding between them, a silent agreement that they would look out for one another. When Kofi finally decided it was time to return to the village, he was surprised to find Chue following him. The hyena limped behind him, refusing to be left behind. Kofi knew the villagers would not welcome Chue, but he couldn't bring himself to chase the animal away. Together, they made their way back to the village, where Kofi's worst fears came true. The moment the villagers saw Chue, panic erupted. People shouted warnings, grabbed sticks, and demanded that Kofi send the hyena away. They accused him of bringing bad luck and endangering the community. Even Kofi's mother, though understanding, begged him to reconsider keeping the animal. But Kofi stood firm. He explained how he had found Chue injured and alone, how he had nursed the hyena back to health, and how he couldn't abandon the creature now. Despite his pleas, the villagers remained wary and hostile. Over time, Kofi and Chue became inseparable. The boy and the hyena spent their days exploring the savannah and their nights sleeping under the stars. Though the villagers continued to shun them, Kofi began to notice subtle changes in Chue. The hyena, once a timid and injured creature, grew strong and protective. It would alert Kofi to dangers like snakes or prowling leopards, and even helped him find food and water in the wild. Chue had become more than a companion. He was a guardian. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a distant rumble echoed across the savannah. The sound grew louder and closer until it became clear. A stampede of wildebeest was heading straight for the village. The villagers, caught off guard, scrambled to protect their homes and families. Chaos erupted as people shouted and ran in every direction. Kofi, who had been outside the village with Chue, saw the danger first. Without hesitation, he and Chue sprang into action. Kofi ran ahead to warn the villagers, while Chue darted toward the stampede. The hyena let out a series of loud, piercing calls that startled the wildebeest, causing them to veer away from the village. Kofi, meanwhile, guided the villagers to higher ground, ensuring everyone's safety. When the dust settled, the villagers looked around in awe. Their homes and lives had been spared, thanks to Kofi and Chue's quick thinking. For the first time, the people saw the hyena not as a symbol of bad luck, but as a hero. They also began to see Kofi in a new light. The boy they had once mocked for his clumsiness had shown courage, resourcefulness, and compassion. From that day forward, the villagers embraced Kofi and Chue. The hyena became a respected member of the community, and Kofi found his place among his people. He continued to care for Chue, but he also used his newfound confidence to help others in the village. He taught the children about the animals of the savannah and shared the importance of kindness and understanding. The bond between Kofi and Chue became a legend, a story told around the fire to remind everyone of the power of compassion and the importance of looking beyond appearances. Kofi's actions had not only saved his village, but had also taught them a valuable lesson, that even the most unlikely creatures can become heroes when given a chance. The moral of the story is simple but profound. Acts of kindness can transform perceptions and build trust in unexpected ways. Kofi's willingness to help an injured hyena, despite fear and ridicule, changed his life and the lives of those around him. It showed that compassion and understanding have the power to overcome prejudice and bring communities together.